Hey, what's up, guys? We're coming to you from Tracy's on Magazine Street on the corner of Magazine and Pleasant. Beautiful new building here. They moved up the street. Beautiful location. You can see it behind us. Great place to come watch a game, get a drink, do your thing. Come here on Sundays. It's really packed for Saints games and all that. So make sure you check them out. Again, up here on Magazine on the corner of Pleasant and Magazine. Beautiful blue building. You can't miss it. Come check it out. They got the upstairs patio and everything. So today we're going to go through, we're going to recap kind of the preseason training camp, give our overarching thoughts, and make sure you're loading up your questions. If you're watching on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, you can load up your questions in the chat. We're going to answer a bunch of them. We're going to go for about an hour today until about 4 o'clock. We got a couple talking points ready, and then we're going to hit your questions all throughout. So make sure you're dropping those in there. And don't know if we'll get to all of them, but we'll get to some of them.
All right. Let's hop it off with the first talking point. It's, do we think, how do you know when a rookie quarterback is worth anything? How do you know that you have a rookie quarterback that's worth anything?
This was we didn't one of the few times we didn't have cameras on us ever.
Yeah.
Me and Nick
lately.
just did a podcast in the parking lot after the game last night while we were walking back to our cars, and I was just like, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm really excited by everything that I'm seeing by Spencer Rattler, but honestly, we don't talk about this much. Nick once covered the Patriots. He didn't just cover the Saints since 1967. So he's seen other quarterbacks, but this is my 20th year covering the Saints, and I've never seen an elite quarterback prospect. I covered the 49ers for 5 years before that. They drafted a guy named Kendre Miller in the first round once, and he kind of was a bust. But I just don't know. It's not like I've covered Will Levis and Desmond Ridder and Pat Mahomes, and I can tell you these ones are good and these ones are bad, and Rattler's different than this guy. The Saints have drafted some guys like Garrett Grayson and Ian Book, and they've had a Chase Daniel, and they've had a Ryan Griffin, and Rattler is more naturally talented than any of them. I mean, shoot, Jake Haener might be second on that list from all the young guys I've ever seen come through, but it's just there's not a lot of comparison points for Spencer Rattler, and I think I'm wowed by the things I'm doing. I can certainly see guys in the other preseason games. How do I know if that's going to translate to this guy being the future of the team? This guy should be competing for the starting job during his rookie season. I don't know. He does feel like a guy who's still a little raw, and the timeline of not yet this year makes sense to me. But is that because he was drafted in the 5th round? If he was drafted 12th overall like J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix, would I feel differently? I honestly don't know.
I mean, I think so. At the Patriots, there was Jimmy Garoppolo and Ryan Mallett, and the thing I always say this. I think the thing with the quarterbacks is you see something right away. You see it right away. It's not hard to look at. It's not hard to find. Like with Grayson, it was kind of like, should he even make the team?
No.
Like when it's not there, and when there's something there. But I don't think anybody ever knows right away coming out of the preseason. I don't think anybody ever knows right away coming out of training camp. Like, you draft guys and you're looking for a chance. Like, does he have a chance? Could he be something? And I think the answer with Rattler is absolutely yeah. And I mean, look, the point of there's multiple points of comparison every year in the preseason, and sometimes you go in, you want somebody that looks good, that gives you a chance, that you think, hey, like, are there things here? Like, I don't think it's hard to figure out. Like, last year, I mean, it's not always proof positive right away someone's ready. Like, Bryce Young had a great preseason, then he hits the season, he's not quite there, but, like, he has a chance. There's talent there. There's ability. Bo Nix right now. Drake May looked okay yesterday. Just guys hit the preseason, they do training camp, and is there something there? Is there an ability to develop? Is there traits? Are there things that he's doing that are better than other guys? I think you really have to try really hard to talk yourself into saying, like, there's nothing there with Rattler.
There's definitely nothing there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you see something there. Does that mean he's ready to compete for the starting job? No. Like, I'm glad that he's not in a situation where it's like, is he ready to start right now? Is he better than Jake Haener? And that's the only question to answer. I think the best thing for Spencer Rattler is, honestly, to take a year. I think hopefully he's the backup quarterback, so there's no, like, weird division of snaps. It's not, okay, Jake's getting 70, Spencer's getting 30. Like, hopefully he's the lead guy on that. I think both of them are still worth trying to develop, though. I don't think either one of them should sit and watch for a whole entire year like they did with Grayson and some other guys. But, I mean, if you're looking for the comparison, like you said it, Ian Book versus Spencer Rattler. Like, you didn't see it with Book.
Comparison.
You saw it with Rattler right away.
Yeah.
A Grayson Rattler. Like, it's obvious this guy's in a different class. And, I think it's insane that he went pick 150 or whatever it was. Like, I don't know that he should have been, a top 15 pick or whatever, but like first 2 rounds, like for him to get out of there is crazy. And I think that there's probably 31 teams right now thinking like, damn, we could have got him in the 5th round or the 4th round. And I think that's a mistake for everybody. Does he make it? I think there's still a long way to go until we figure that out. But there is absolutely something there that is worth developing, worth finding out about. And I think he has a very, very real chance of being a NFL starter. Like, is that 1 or 32? That's a lot to be determined. But there is a real chance here that he has a chance to develop.
Let's go into the chat here. The first question from M223, sticking with the quarterback position. I know the fans don't want to hear anything about Derek Carr, but how has his mechanics and footwork look now that training camp has ended?
I think he had a good camp. I thought he had a good camp last year. I think he's a quarterback with talent. I think he has a good arm, and I think that when you're in a setting like that, if Derek Carr didn't look good, like it would be incredibly troubling. Like, he's somebody that should go out and be able to complete passes and hit them when there's really no pass rush or anything like that. All that's going to be determined in the season, and I really think I think there's a lot to overcome with the offensive line. I don't feel good about the right side. Fuaga was spotty yesterday. I don't necessarily feel great about that side. I think he'll get better as the season goes along, but I think there's questions there, and I'm wondering what it's going to look like when it's game planned against on both sides. Like, I don't think that they have Brian Ramczyk on either side of that line right now, and it's something that they're going to have to figure out. But, yeah, I mean, when it gets messy, we'll find out, But there's things that I like about how they're doing it, and, they're marrying the footwork with pure progressions. So it's like boom, boom, out, boom, boom, out, boom, 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 out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out. There's a lot of stuff where it's supposed to come out really on schedule, and I think that's helped with like some of the hitching, or like there was always some extra movement with his feet last year, kind of extra steps back, and I think some of the stuff they're doing kind of trains some of that out. But when it gets messy, does he revert to what's natural? And that's what we're going to see during the season. I think in this setting, preseason setting, where stuff's like clean, I think you see improvements in some of that stuff, and that should make him theoretically better. But
yeah.
When someone's barreling down or someone isn't open right away, like how does it what does he default to?
The good thing about Derek Carr is his messy has never necessarily been scary. I mean, throughout his career, he's one of the fewest turnovers in the league. Last year with the Saints, turnovers were not a problem for him. He misses throws under pressure. I think he misses slants under pressure and things like that you wish he was a little better at. But I think Derek Carr is sort of a prime example of what are you going to put around him. And if you can put something good around him, you can win. I mean, Baker Mayfield last year, Geno Smith the year before, Kirk Cousins under Clint Kubiak and Rick Dennison and this staff in Minnesota when they had Justin Jefferson. And I don't necessarily think Derek Carr will elevate you above your station, and I don't think he's holding you back or taking you back. I mean, we just saw this system do wonders for Brock Purdy and Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud and, like I said, Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. And I think this system can bring the best version of Derek Carr out. I think he looks comfortable enough in it. You charted him as completing 70% of his passes in camp. He completed 70% of his passes in the old offensive system that wasn't that good. The key is, please don't let it be 3rd and 12. Don't let it be 2nd and 10. Don't let it be 3rd and 18 for him. If the offense can show any sort of efficiency, I think he can be an efficient quarterback. Not a savior, but a top 20 NFL quarterback.
Yeah, man, 13th, that's a lot of offsides, too. Hopefully the O-line's playing better than that. Again, we're coming to you guys from Tracy's on Magazine in Pleasant. Make sure you come down here. They got great food. I eat here all the time, but I'm not here doing shows. It's amazing food. Check them out. Beautiful location here, new spot up the street. Make sure you come and check them out and support them and fill this place up on Sundays.
Yeah, definitely fill it up on Sundays. It's a great place to be. Let's go back. We just talked about Derek Carr and camp and how he developed himself, but let's do an overall overview of camp and the preseason. Why do we feel better? Why do we feel worse?
Why do we feel worse? I mean, I feel worse because the offensive line woes are real. Like, those are real
they didn't
woes.
Go away.
Those are real woes. I don't know. Look, I wrote about it today. I mean, I don't know if you can start Penning week 1. Like, I wouldn't. Like, if I'm the coach, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't put him in there right now. Like, I don't think he's ready to be out there. I thought this last game was better, but there was an idea of, in May, in April, of like, okay, this offense hides poor offensive line play. That's what this system does. A lot of these other systems don't value offensive linemen. Houston had bad offensive linemen last year, and they had a good plan against premier pass rushers. Slowick did. Like, similar systems, similar coaches, similar philosophies. They made it work. I don't think this is workable right now, though. Like, maybe it is in week 7, maybe it is in week 5, maybe it is in week 12. In week 1, 13 days from now, based on what we've seen, I do not feel comfortable with it at this point. So I feel worse about it because of that. I feel better about it because we've actually seen other things with the offense. I like the running game. I like the things they're doing. I like how they're building off it. I like the creativity, and I like the pass rush on the other side. So there's proof positive on some things, but I remain extremely concerned about the offensive line going into the season. I mean, that's the thing that's going to – I don't think it's ever going to be good enough to make the season, but it could be bad enough to break the season for sure.
I don't feel drastically worse about the offensive line because I already felt really, really bad about it. I mean, we were talking in the spring and summer about projecting Trevor Penning at right tackle and Nick Saldivari at left guard, and I never loved those options. The thing I feel worse about is I never saw a safety net behind them. Like, I was always hoping, well, if they don't pan out, hopefully there's a James Hurst-level player right behind him. Lucas Patrick might be that at left guard. He's been a little up and down. He played great in his last game. He obviously showed the Saints enough that they gave him the veteran rest day in the third preseason game. So maybe he's safe enough at left guard. I wish I saw more from Oli Udoh. I think he's going to be the guy who would start at right tackle for the Saints. And how many snaps? We can count on one hand how many snaps he got at right tackle throughout all of camp in the preseason with the starting unit. So I feel like I didn't see the safety nets I was hoping to see, but I already felt really bad about that. I still feel really bad about that. That was baked into my 8-9 record prediction. One area I feel worse about is the playmakers, though. I thought they had enough, but now I feel like beyond Chris Olave, everybody has a question mark. Maybe Alvin Kamara doesn't have a question mark. I would just like to see him healthy and the contract behind him, and all right, he's Alvin. I think that's still possible. I wanted to feel really good about Rashid Shaheed. I don't know if I do. Juwan Johnson finally came back. We'll see if I feel good about him. The third, fourth, fifth receivers are all okay, but not great. The tight end depth is not great. I do like what they're going to do with Taysom Hill, but depth on the offensive line, depth in the playmaking, I feel worse about. Exact opposite, though, on the defensive line. From the moment we first saw Chase Young, from the camp Carl Granderson's having Peyton Turner's had a solid camp. Cam Jordan's going to move inside to get more snaps. Feel way better about the defensive line, better about the linebacker depth, good about the secondary depth if Marshawn Lattimore comes back. Feel better in every area of the defense.
You don't feel worse about the O-line, though? Like 40% of the guys that we thought were going to start probably aren't going to start week 1.
I never
or shouldn't
felt
be
good
starting.
about it.
You know
I never
what I mean?
felt good about it.
So it means that, like, 2/3 or 40% of the line, like, is not good enough to perform. Like, that's extremely alarming to me. Like, I feel significantly worse
Except
about that idea.
for, honestly, like, when we're doing this thing about where should your unit rank and all that, like, before we ever went to camp, I had the impression the Saints had, like, a bottom 2 or 3 offensive line in the NFL, and I still have that impression.
I think it's worse, though. Like, if it was bottom 2 or 3, it's 40% worse. Like, I feel.
I never felt good about either.
I didn't
of those
either,
guys.
but I feel
we were setting
way
over under on will they even start 10 games.
It's a nightmare to a night terror, though. You know, like it's a lot.
Yeah.
Like, and they're trapped in that nightmare now. Like, then there's no way out. And Freddie's got you.
I'm about to say Freddie got you at that point.
I don't know.
I just didn't think it was possible to feel worse, but they did nothing to make me feel any better.
Let's hop back into the chat. Make sure y'all continue to flood the block with questions because we will answer them during this show. MTube23 asks, is there anyone the Saints can trade rather than cut to accumulate a late-round draft pick or a 6th-round O-line?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a couple guys. Like, I think there's a cornerback. If you wanted to, you could trade from your cornerback depth to get something somewhere. Colin Saunders is hurt, but he feels like a movable asset that could possibly return something. But outside of that, I don't think there's a lot that they could do. And look, honestly, I think it's probably unrealistic to assume that there's like a great option behind door number 3 here at this point. On the offensive line, a lot of people aren't trading starters. A lot of people aren't trading their third guy. and you don't want a lot of
You're getting
people's
someone's fourth guy, maybe.
Most people's fourth guy isn't worth being a starter, and most people aren't trading their fourth guy either. Like, they want that depth. So I think the idea that you're going to get like something that changes your reality is probably a little far fetched. But you never say never. Like, it'd be nice if they could find it somewhere.
I think the kind of guy you could find is, so like we just did our 53-man roster predictions, and we talked about some of our tough decisions. Like, gee, I kind of like A.T. Perry and Equinemius St. Brown, but are they going to keep 7 receivers? Are they going to keep 6 receivers? Like, there might be teams that are making those decisions with their offensive line, so maybe somebody has an Equinemius St. Brown or A.T. Perry version of an offensive lineman.
That's Uliudo, though, you know?
It might be better. It might be better, honestly.
Maybe.
I mean, Uliudo might be Equinemius St. Brown, but there might even be somebody slightly better. Or, frankly, give me another one.
Yeah.
So I have Udo or this guy.
Yeah, right.
Like, and so maybe they find those guys that they've always had a little bit of a high grade on, that, the team just, we just don't have enough room to keep this guy. He doesn't play special teams. I don't see him getting on the field. Give us your A.T. Perry for our second-year offensive lineman that just can't quite crack the lineup. The Saints have more room for a guy like that than others, but an answer, a solution, that's much harder to find.
You aren't getting that like day one Chase Young feeling on cutdown day, not day 2 Chase Young feeling, day one Chase. Like oh damn, like this changes
fresh
everything.
out the box. Yeah.
No, like they get someone and this can be like maybe like I don't think yeah, you're right though. Like maybe there is a better version of Udo, but it's going to be in that Udo bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like I said, the young guy every once in a while, like the guy who. They had some hope for him, but they drafted someone else this year. Like somebody else is like Landon Young, hopefully better than that. But like we've been trying to develop this guy, and it just didn't happen. And Saints will be like, we'll try.
Yeah, but I don't think that helps you though right away. I don't think
exactly.
Yeah.
But we'd feel better if the Saints had that caliber of guy in the mix right now. And
Landon Young? No, I wouldn't feel better.
No,
about another
better
Landon
than
Young.
that. Better version of that. But
yeah,
like somebody else's. It's year 3. The guy didn't win a starting job. We're ready to move on, guy.
Yeah, but I think like if you're getting that, you got to probably trade like a Marshawn or an Adebo to get him. Like that's the thing. Like that guy isn't getting cut. You aren't getting him for nothing at this point, and you probably aren't trading Colin Saunders for a. I mean, that's the highest position value in the NFL. You got to put something quarterback. In there. Yeah. So like the third guy, like you aren't flopping Saunders for like someone's third best tackle.
No. You got
so it's going to be. And if you're trading Marshawn, like you probably aren't getting there 1 or there 2. Like it would take a lot, I think, to pry somebody from somebody at that point.
Next up in the chat, in your eyes, do you believe Kendre will make the roster?
I left him off. I mean, all I can do is right there. Like they're very unhappy with him, and I'm going off of that. Like I would be surprised if he got cut, but like I couldn't also at the same time put him on our roster because of it. Like it's just been. I don't know. It's a lot of frustration. I think it would be a mistake to give up on him, though. I love his talent. I love his ability. I loved him coming out of the draft. I hate that he can't get on the field. I don't know how you reconcile all that, but for me, that isn't enough to divorce it. But I'm not the one that's living in that house, so it's hard for me to speak on it. So whatever they're doing, like, I don't know, but I wouldn't give up on it. I feel better about the team if Kendre Miller's on the field.
I predicted that they'll put him on IR with the designation to return. You can do that now with 2 guys. I predicted they would do that with him and Nick Saldiveri for that matter, which feels like an obvious solution to me because that can be 4 weeks if he's ready, or that can be 14 weeks, and he can still be training in your facility, getting healthy, maybe getting better. But no, I don't give up on him if I'm any team in the NFL. I certainly don't give up on him when I'm a Saints team where we've been worried for a couple years now about where's the young talent that you're going to build to the future on. Way too early to give up on him for me, and if you have to sacrifice a inactive every Sunday roster spot on it to try to figure it out, well, then try to figure it out. I think there's enough talent there to try to figure it out. Yeah, so do I.
I mean, I agree with that. I think even him going on IR is like a pissed-off move. I don't think that's a –
We can't be ready to play anytime soon. He hasn't even done a walkthrough yet.
What's he going to take another 6 weeks? Like,
I don't know.
Insane.
I don't know.
It's insane that it's taking this long. Yeah.
MIA, he's been missing, very much missing since the first day of training.
And look, last year during the summer program, they were frustrated with how long it was taking him to rehab his college knee injury. And then last year during the season, he had the injuries. They were frustrated with how long that was taking. I think this is just a continuation. And even if it's, the timeline is 100% legit, and it's where I just think there's just a general accumulation of frustration associated with these rehab processes, and it's just like, come on, man. Like, I think that's how they feel about it. doesn't mean it's right. But I would be extremely disappointed if he's on the team. Like I said it on last night's show, this was the guy that I was like circling to be like the breakout star of this team because the talent in the system like lends itself to that, and it's frustrating at this point.
This next question is a blend of 2 points that we've already hit throughout this show. Make sure y'all continue to put your questions in the chat. We're here at Tracy's on Magazine. Make sure you come out here, get something to drink, and just have a good time.
It's up the street from the old spot now. Better building, better location, same great atmosphere.
That's right. Next question is Haener a trade candidate?
I don't think so.
I would consider trading him if I were the Saints, though. I mean, that's a position where you have a little bit of abundance of something somebody else might want. I don't know what the market would look like around the league, but that's like cornerback. It's actually a position where they have a little bit of supply.
I'd like to hold on to him just because I think a year from now those might be your two quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like it's a possibility, like depending on how the season goes and everything. And I think they're both worth developing. I think they got a little something with both of them, and I'd like to keep them both in the building. They don't cost nothing.
Yeah.
Where are you going this year? What are you getting? Like, I don't know. If it was like Haener for the starting tackle, sure, I'd do that. Somebody's number 3 or whatever, something that really upgrades that, I'd do it. But I wouldn't be. I don't know that I'd be the one making those calls, but I'd answer the phone.
This next one is going back to the first question about how Carr's footwork looked. They say they only asked the question because they know that was a big focus for the new offensive staff on getting Carr's footwork together.
Yeah.
The next question is our boy Arjun. If you're
Listen to your feet.
Yeah, listen to your feet. That whole thing.
Yeah.
Our boy Arjun, if you're ever a member of the Overtime chat, he's a frequenter in there. He says that he's moved into college and he's glad to be back in the stream. So shout out to you, Arjun. The next question is from Eric Marcus. They ask, had the Saints been on Hard Knocks, which young player would have been the training camp media darling?
Samson Nakua. That dude is a trip. If you saw the video that I posted and that we ran yesterday, I unfortunately don't think he's going to make it, but he would have worked his way into a storyline for sure.
I don't think there's really been a big rookie personality this year.
I think Bub. I'll go with Bub. I think Bub means
Just
a little
missing
bit
for a couple weeks.
Yeah, he was MIA, but I think Bub means the way he comes up there. He has glasses with personality. He goes up there. The first thing he said was, "Hi, I'm Bub Means." Those kind of little things. I think that might have been something that was pretty cool.
That's
but I think
a good
Samson
call.
is also a good pick.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like, there's nobody that would have been like Rattler a little bit, but he isn't kind of like
Right.
He's not
He
like
doesn't
allowed.
give it to
You
Yeah,
know
yeah.
the story.
And I think that he's pretty media savvy, so I think he would have been just kind of on the whole time, like as he should be. Yeah, I don't know. Like there's vets that good vet personalities, but the young guys have just kind of been it's just really maybe it just hasn't come out yet, but we haven't seen a ton of that yet.
What do you think? You think Kool-Aid might have been good?
I don't know. Like he's kind of guarded on, but I watched like a documentary he did on YouTube, and he's it's an interesting story and everything. So he might have been, but like in the setting at the podium. But again, we haven't had a lot of the locker room's not open yet. That'll open this week. We just haven't had a lot of real interactions with anybody yet, so it's kind of hard to tell.
Cam Jordan would have been all over it. I think Alontae Taylor would have got it. Arc. They would have loved Jamal Williams coming back after he was a star on that before. The big personalities, DeMario would have been all over it. But yeah,
I think Haener would have been a great storyline too.
Yeah.
He's kind of cocky. He's got that chip on his shoulder, and he's in the battle. I think that's just something that would have kind of gravitated towards a little bit too.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't think about that one.
Did you say Marshawn? Marshawn's got a great personality, but I don't know how much he would have been on camera.
he would have been high.
Yeah.
They would have been like Marshawn Lattimore would have been a picture of a hoodie from the side, sneaking into a training room.
Alvin, if he wanted to do it, would have been the best one on there. There's a handful of guys.
Carr,
A
obviously.
lot of personality on the team, just guarded at some point.
Yeah.
But you just got to find a way to get in there, and you'll get some real good stuff.
Caesar's a funny guy. I think he would have been good on there.
Yeah.
McCoy. Yeah, there's a handful of them.
Rosenfield 10 asks, Kyle Hergel looked like a man among boys in last night's game. Is he a lock for the 53-man roster? He showed a lot at guard and at center in the game.
Who are we talking about?
Kyle Hergel.
I actually thought it was maybe his spottiest game yet.
Yeah.
I thought he was good, but it was his. I thought he was kind of average in it, and I thought he was above average in the other ones. But he's somebody that I really like his potential. I like his upside, and depending on how the season plays out, I wouldn't be against seeing him play at some point.
Yeah, they haven't really. I mean, they've given him a couple of looks, but they haven't really opened that left guard competition up to him. I think it would take injuries or poor play from a couple guys to get him in there, but he's absolutely going to stick around for sure.
No doubt.
Derek Sansbury is in the chat, and they ask, is it more likely that the Saints trade for an offensive lineman or pick up one after cutdowns happen?
I think the second one is more likely, but if it is a trade, to me, it's hey, all these teams call around like, hey, we've got 55 guys, we've only got 53 spots. Would you give us a sixth for this guy who we're on? Like that kind of thing. Not like trading for a star. Is my guess. That's the third most likely scenario, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've been looking for trade possibilities. I think that's something that's actively happening. But I mean, that's normal this time of year. And what's more likely? I think more likely is probably trying to pick somebody up.
Yeah. John Morris asks, do they shop for speed at running back and tackle insurance?
Tackle insurance? Yeah, they shop for tackle. I'm kind of torn on running back. I think you've got to be a really, really good running back that costs something to be clearly better. They've got a lot of, unfortunately, like middle-of-the-road options right now. But to be clearly above the level they have right now, I think that's not where I'm spending my resources. I don't think they can do better. Of course, they can do better in a lot of areas. I'd rather have a tight end, probably even a receiver, definitely an offensive lineman before I'm spending any precious resources to upgrade the running back room.
I think realistically, though, there's probably more of a surplus of running backs than there is a tackle in tight end, and so I think I'd rather have the tight end. But I mean, I think if Mims is your third guy, I want a better third guy. Like, I'm trying to find one, and that's not a slight to Mims. Like, Mims is a fine backstop, but I'd rather move the backstop up a little bit and have the distance be a little bit shorter. So I think they should definitely be looking. I mean, that's a spot where I feel like there's just some missing burst in general from the whole entire group too. So I would absolutely be looking, and I would be trying to find something there.
Going back to our camp and preseason overview, what's the biggest takeaways from this new offensive system? Way
more creative. Everything makes sense. I think it takes a lot of pressure off the quarterbacks. The only downside to that is and unfortunately without Shaheed out there, I don't think that we got a true sampling of it. But I think that Derek Carr is going to be asked to do too much heavy lifting, kind of with what they have at the weapon positions, unless something changes it. And but I think the reads are easier to make. You aren't doing full field reads on every single play. You don't have to read the coverage on every single play. Things are happening on rhythm. Things are happening in more space. The movement, the play action, the run game, it kind of all goes together. It looks really good. It looks really good when it's working. Hopefully they're blocking well enough so everybody sees it during the season consistently. I mean, watching offense here, and even going back to like the last year, Drew, it has not been the most pleasurable experience. And if this thing works and it's functional with the offensive line, I think it's going to be fun to watch this team again at times. Hopefully it's every week. I don't know if they're good enough for it to be every week, but the idea of it is better, and it should be more enjoyable to watch.
If I was bolding a few words that you said there, it would be makes sense. Like, the offense makes sense. I wrote an article about it last week. It was kind of the whole premise of it. And rhythm. Rhythm is another one. It just seems like they have a plan. And we've said this a million times, but if they're asking the question, I think the number one thing that you hear from every coach and player every time you talk to them is their passes look just like their runs look just like their passes for 4 or 5 steps. And even the defensive players say that's what's so hard about the system around the league. That makes the play-action passing game really work. There's a lot of quick passes, efficient passes. Derek Carr completing 70% of his passes in camp makes perfect sense. That's what I expect to see out of him out here. I don't think he has to play hero ball, even if a lot will be on his shoulders. And I just think the goal is efficiency. Like, I think the goal is 2nd and 5 every time, They're going to run a lot more in the red zone on – if it's they're second down, they're going to try to make it 3rd and 4. Like, I think that's not all dynamic and thrilling and exciting, although play action passing can open some big plays down the field. But that's the concept, and we've seen it time and time again. That the concept makes sense. Now, can they execute it? We'll see.
Rolling back to the chat, Dom says Houghton and Abram don't look too good at safety to me. Kind of where do you think they're at with safety right now?
Up in the air. I mean, I'd be surprised if Jordan Howden isn't the number one guy though, like opposite Tyron. I think that's ultimately how it's going to play out. My sense of it is that I think they were trying to put pressure on him, but I could be wrong. But I mean, I think that's how it should be. I mean, it's close enough that I'd want to go with him. I like Abram downhill in the box. I don't like Abram in space. I think Will Harris is just kind of okay at both things. I think Howden's probably the best one out of them. He's the most talented. For whatever reason, though, there's been inconsistencies, and it seems like that's been the case in this camp, too, just with how they're using him. They haven't been able to commit to him yet. Yeah. They weren't quite able to fully commit to him last year. Again, hopefully that's just like a motivational thing, and it's, come season it's click and go, but we'll see.
Well, I think they're trying to motivate him, but I think it's for a reason. I mean, I think there's something he hasn't shown them yet consistently, but I actually thought he flashed in this last week of practice, certainly in this last preseason game, so I think he closed the race the way you want to see him close the race, and I think he'll definitely start. But, yeah, if you're ranking the positions you feel best about on defense, it's possible that's 10th or 11th. I mean, probably on the defense, right?
Yeah. We're gonna take a quick little break here. We'll be back in just a minute. Get a little sip of water, get going, and we'll go back for about another 30 minutes. We're gonna run through this, so keep asking your questions in the chat. We're gonna get to them, and we'll be right back in a couple seconds.
Welcome back. We're here at Tracy's on Magazine in Pleasant. Make sure you come out and have a good time on Sundays when the Saints are playing, and right now because we're here live for another 30 minutes answering your questions. So make sure you continue to pop questions into the chat. Christian asks, is there a scenario where Rattler can pull a Dak Prescott?
Meaning what? Like take the starting job or become Dak Prescott, or like I don't really.
I would assume it would be the way he did Tony Romo,
AKA a Russell Wilson.
Will Levis?
Will Levis was later in the year. Did Dak win it from week one? I think he did, right?
I don't know if he straight up booted Tony Romo out. But
Russell Wilson won it in camp. I don't think so, barring an injury from Derek Carr. Now, let's say Derek Carr gets hurt and he misses a week or two, and they start winning with Spencer Rattler, and Dennis Allen sticks with the hot hand, kind of like the Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston. I mean, that scenario exists, but I don't think this is currently an open competition. I don't think it's a competition, quote unquote, that Rattler could win. And I think Carr would really, really have to falter for a long time, especially since it's a new offense. I think that leash should be really long. I think we'd be talking mid-November, December, things going really awry before they open that up, barring injury.
Yeah, look, right now, no.
Yeah.
Like, right now, no. And again, I said it before, I think the best thing for him is that he has time to develop. Number two, like, I don't think there's anything that suggests that it was even really like a close battle. Like, Carr had this thing start to finish. Number three, like, the best thing for the Saints would be for Rattler to come in and take this job and have it be that, and have that actually be the case in camp, to where he's pressuring the starting quarterback, or he comes into a game and he plays so well that, he's great, and then next week he's great, and then, still out with an injury, third game, great. Like, that is the best case scenario. I think everybody in the building would be cheering for that to happen, because that means you have a young rookie quarterback that's a starter, and you are set then once you answer that problem. So that's something that would be outstanding to happen. I just don't think it's there yet. Could it get there? Yeah, maybe. But I think it's probably next year's camp is when you actually get a look at this. again, I think the best thing for him, because if you watch the college tape, like it's never been the talent. It was always kind of like the decisions and all that. And I think that's been a lot better. But I think if you give him time to kind of go through it, get the mental reps, make mistakes behind closed doors, go out, correct them, win over his teammates and all that stuff, I think that's why it's important for him to win the backup job. Ultimately, look, I don't think it significantly matters, because if he's number 3, they're going to get him reps somehow because it's too important. But it's, again, way better scenario if he's 2. And, again, they would love it for him to take this. It's just not not there yet.
To be fair to the question, I was reading my history, and I'm sorry I didn't know this right off the top of my head. But now I understand the question. Dak kind of surprisingly won the backup job because Kellen Moore broke his tibia during the first week of training camp, so that moved Dak up to number 2. And then Tony Romo broke his back in the 3rd week of the preseason.
Yeah.
And so Dak was a surprise starter. Started all 16 games that year. The 2 guys both got hurt in front of him in training camp, but then he was so good that he became Dak Prescott. So I'm guessing the question means Derek Carr gets hurt, they throw Spencer Rattler in there. Could he be off and running? And now you've got the next Dak Prescott. I mean, it's not outlandish. Dak Prescott was a 4th-round pick, and it happened with him. That doesn't happen often in the NFL, but, does that – would that be the most shocking thing I've ever heard of? No. I think we see enough talent in Rattler, but I consider that the long shot of long shots.
Yeah, but I mean, look, this is, and he's different. But like finding this guy in the 5th, Haener in the 4th, like this is why I say draft 1 every single year in that range. Like you just keep scratching your lottery tickets. You never know. You never know. You're gonna miss on 90% of them, but you're gonna miss on 90% of your first rounders too. So you might as well just take low cost shots and kind of see what happens.
Yeah, that's a good point. Next one from Cam Bailey: Kendre Miller or Colin Saunders, and a 4/5th for Mechie from the Texans, the receiver.
Small receiver.
Isn't he a small deep threat speed receiver? Yeah.
Like I want a bigger guy. I want a bigger guy. But I mean, they are barren enough at that position that I would take one if you can get them for kind of nothing. Like, I don't know, go greatest show on turf and just bombs away if you got to. Like, work with what you got. But I do think they are really light at receiver, and they're one injury away from that thing feeling like a wasteland kind of. Yeah. Like if Olave were to get hurt or he gets hurt during the season, I feel terrible about it. So whatever's available, if you could get somebody for kind of nothing, I would look into it.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Coming from Houston too, right? He knows the system. So
Mechie's a good comp, and maybe there have been stories out of Houston that I didn't know, but so they've got Tank Dell, who's awesome. They've got Nico Collins, who's awesome. They added Stephon Diggs. So all of a sudden, John Mechie, a guy they drafted in the 2nd round last year, 2022, all of a sudden that kind of guy is like, we don't have room for him. We have a surplus. I hope some other NFL team that I don't know about has a John Mechie at offensive tackle.
Yeah, but off the rip, you're right. Same body style, 5'11", 187. So they have a surplus of that.
I got him at 6 foot 195.
That's what you're saying.
He is a deep threat guy, though. He's a deep threat guy, though.
As we know over here, height is a subjective thing.
It is. It is, Brandon. That's his driver's license height, like Brandon's driver's license.
Man, you're
6 foot 195. Is that what it says on your driver's license right now? 6 foot 195.
6 foot 206. Okay. 6 foot 206.
Okay. Definitely lying about the height.
Manuel Garcia.
6 foot with a hat.
Hey man, shout out to the. I keep one on me. Manuel Garcia says, should Saints give Charlie Smith the job? Feel like Groupie looked good last preseason too and won the job from Lutz, but was shaky all season. I say give Charlie a shot.
I disagree with shaky all season. He finished, I'm going to look it up, 81% and made all 40 of his extra points. 81% is what you're getting from most kickers. In theory, now he's been through it in his 2nd year. Maybe he can be a little more stable than that. If you felt like Blake Grupe was shaky all season, you're going to feel like Charlie Smith is shaky all season. What you want is not to be paying any attention to the kicker, and when he makes 80% of his kicks, you're like, oh, that's just what Mason Crosby does or whatever. When it's a rookie, you're going to be nervous every time he kicks, and every time he misses, you're going to say, cut him. So I think Charlie Smith's rookie season would probably go like Blake Grupe's rookie season went last year. I don't hate the idea, though. I mean, if you're not 100% sure in your kicker, you might as well go with the guy with the higher upside. But I feel like Grupe's 10% safer.
Here's the thing though. I'm with Groupie. Like I think we talked about it earlier on, and I felt good about him. I got enough confidence in him. I will say this about him though. Like there's kickers from like a certain range where it's like go to the bathroom kickers. Like Groupie is not a go to the bathroom kicker. Like you can't assume anything. You know what
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's like okay, I gotta let me run real quick and be back before the quarterback's out there because you can assume he's not quite to that assumption level yet.
Fair.
Will Lutz was at a certain point, and obviously none of them are perfect and none of them are Justin Tucker, and even Justin Tucker misses some kicks, he isn't at that level yet.
No, I agree.
That's
a really good one.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
This is actually what I said, I think, on a show a few weeks ago, though. Like, is I might trade in Groupie for somebody else's sixth-year veteran that just has
you've been making
remember
that
the year
point.
the Saints had Shane Graham? Like, I really love the year the Saints got John Casey, who like considered retirement, and then he came in here, and he was just like, I want a guy who I feel like it's not going to be in his head. Like, maybe it's in every kicker's head, but, like, I agree whether it's fair or not. I always feel a little more uncomfortable with the young guys who haven't been through the – but I know if Charlie Smith was out there, he wouldn't make anyone feel comfortable. I mean, it'd be exciting. I hope they get the chance to keep developing him. I hope he's the next great thing, but he's not going to – he's going to make people go to the bathroom because they're like, I can't watch.
You
Just
gotta
tell me
believe.
what happens.
You got to be a believer, Mike. You got to be a believer, man. Going back to the camp/preseason overview, is age concern? I know, like, a lot of people on this team are older, so is age a concern?
Yeah, long term now. Yeah. I mean, they're older guys, and the older players are, obviously a greater risk of getting hurt or slipping in performance or not outlasting the length of the season. So yeah, I mean, definitely a concern.
And look, I disagree with Mickey Loomis on this one. He said those stats on how old your roster is can be so misleading, which is a true statement. Sometimes you have a 40-year-old kicker and a 42-year-old quarterback, and it throws everything off. But the 10 best players on their team are old. Like, I mean, DeMario's old, Cam Jordan's old, Tyrann Mathieu's old, Alvin Kamara's older for a running back, and so on. The ESPN just came out with their top 100 list today. Not one Saint on it. Like, they need to replenish the cupboard.
DeMario's not on there. That's outrageous.
Did he miss the NFL Network top?
No,
100?
he was not. He was like 56 or
He was the
something.
only
Yeah,
one
he was
on
like
that
in the 50s.
Yeah,
I think.
so that surprised me, but this was a team that used to have a lot of guys who were like 25 years old on that list, and they don't have any 25-year-olds anywhere. Maybe Olave is sniffing that list, but
yeah, I mean, like I would argue that like Marshawn should be on those lists,
fair.
but I was listening to Robert Mays the other day on his show, and they were talking about it, and he was just they were kind of going through like who the blue chip players are, and his thing was like, I want to put him on there for who he was a couple of years ago, but he's been hurt for 2 years, and I mean it's fair, out of sight, out of mind. Like you got to play the games to kind of be on those lists, but talent wise, I think he plays 15 games this year. He's back on all those lists. But for right now, I think it's fair to kind of press pause and say, like, hey, what's going on? And he's hurt right now again. So you can't really give that benefit of doubt anymore. Like, it's 3 years of injuries in a row now. Hopefully this one doesn't go into the season. It shouldn't. I heard it wouldn't. But, I mean, you just kind of really never know on timelines. Like, I heard a lot of different timelines on him over the last couple of years, and all of them were shorter than what they ended up being. So, should be ready for week one. I will put weight on that word should.
Dom Tomasino has a comment. They say this defense is going to have to create a lot of turnovers this season for the Saints to be a good team.
Maybe. I mean, they're going to have to prevent points, though. It's going to have to be low-scoring games.
Yep.
That's for sure.
The next question is, what are realistic expectations for this season? The most preseason coverage I see of other teams, they're more worried I get it for the Saints.
I don't understand.
I don't understand the question, but realistic expectations. Here's the best way to feel good about the Saints. Like, they're an easy team for everybody around the league to be like, well, that's a team that's on the decline, so I'm going to predict them to be one of the bad teams. Everybody wants to pick their team to win 9 games this time of year. Everyone wants to have hope. The Bears, I think people are predicting them to be a surging team. This year's Houston Texans. There's going to be good teams. There's going to be bad teams. Everybody thinks they're better. I don't see why the Saints should be drastically worse than what we've gotten used to over the last 3 years. I think their defense should be a little better. I think their offensive system should be better. Their run game was already the worst in the NFL last year. Their passing game was already pretty uninspiring last year. So I don't see where they're where they're going to like drop off significantly from the past, and I do see areas where they should get better. I've been picking 8 and 9. I think you guys have been picking 9 and 8. I believe those numbers with this team.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been assuming functionality on the offensive line, and I'm still assuming that they're going to find a way to get there. And if they find a way to be functional on the offensive line, like I think 9 wins is within reason. But there's a reality, and it's becoming increasingly more realistic, that there's not a great solve on the offensive line, and it could be 3 of 5 spots you don't feel good about. It could be left guard, left tackle, right tackle. I think Fuaga is going to be okay, but hey, he's a rookie playing a new position. He has shorter arms. When they start game planning against him, like, you know, does that stab become a problem for him? Like, when people start game planning, what's it look like? So we're going to find out there. I think, you know, there's a, if that's bad though, like, I think it's way lower. Like, you could tell me, I believe 5 more than I believe 11, like, at this point. And if you tell me the offensive line's a mess, like, I think the floor could really drop out of this thing. I think it's a very realistic thing, and I think it's urgent to kind of find some answers to where you feel okay about that. Because if they can't block for Carr falls apart. Carr starts getting hit. The chemistry that we've seen that's been better, like, that starts becoming, you know, a threat. Because we saw upset play last year, people lashing out last year. Like, you got to see that stuff improve. They can't run the ball. They aren't going to be able to pass the ball. The play action isn't there. You aren't taking pressure. Like, it's a potential very bad situation if they don't figure it out. But again, I think that, like, they will find a way to be functional. They've plugged those holes forever. They scout that position well. I think it'll be okay. But I think it's on the board where you got to at least put it up there to where, like, what happens if this doesn't work and what's it look like? And that for me, going back to the very second question or whatever it was, like, that's the thing that's changed for me, is that door B, like, it's visible now at least. And, like, it was kind of like you knew it exists, but, like, I'm so looked over here. Like, I think it's a little bit more within the possibilities at this point.
I do agree with you on the feeling worse about the offensive line, in the sense of, at least in February, we're like, well, I don't like Trevor Penning and Nick Saldivar as the options, but at least I think they'll be better 6 months from now than they are today.
Yeah.
And we've gotten to 6 months later, and it doesn't feel like they got better, you know?
Yeah.
So that part is true. The other doomsday scenario with this team is, I mean, there's 6 hold-my-breath players on this team. I mean, if Eric McCoy, Chris Olave, Cesar Ruiz, Taliasa Fuaga, Chase Young now has quickly become one of those guys. You know, like Derek Carr, obviously. There's so many teams that two injuries make them a 5-win team instantly. I used to feel better about their ability to absorb even hey, Jimmy Graham's not available this week. Marcus Colson's not available this week. Alvin's not available this week. Marshawn's not available this week. I do not feel good about their ability to absorb the losses of their most important players.
Nappy G asks, are we sleeping on the Panthers and Bryce Young?
No.
You're not?
I'm not sleeping on them. Like, I don't think they're ready to be, like, a great team.
I
yet.
am sleeping on them, but are we wrong to sleep on them? No, we're not wrong. Is that the idea?
I feel like my eyes are open. I don't feel like I got it wrong. Like, sleeping on them is like I don't know. Like, prove me wrong. I don't know.
I mean, teams turn around in the NFL all the time. They've got Magic Man Dave Canales there who turned Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield into great players the last couple of years. They invested everything in the world on their offensive line, on their playmakers. They're giving Bryce Young every chance. But in the process of doing that, they dismantled their defense. I mean, Brian Burns was their best player. He's gone. They've lost so many players in that defense. You would hope that the Saints can beat them in week 1. If not, Panic's going to hit the streets early, very early.
Hit it early.
It's almost a scary week 1 opponent. Like,
oh, yeah.
I mean, I think for the pressure that's on this team and the fans ready to turn on them that haven't turned already, like I think I said in a text previously, I think it might be the most important win of Dennis Allen's career. Like, you can't lose to the Panthers at home in week 1 this season.
Not off the rip. You got to show something. A familiar name around here, Sandman asked about Cam Irving.
Yeah, I had heard. It's funny. I had heard some positive things about him and some negative things about him. Obviously, they could have Cam Irving if they want to. He could start at right tackle like he did at the end of last season, and I think their internal evaluation was that they could do better than Cam Irving at right tackle. But that's another good example of, hey, look, they survived with Cam Irving out there last year. That's one of the reasons I thought maybe they can survive with lesser talent. So maybe it doesn't sound like it's going to be Cam Irving himself, but that is a reminder that sometimes you find a guy on the street, you throw him out there, and you can survive it.
Yep.
Back to overviewing camp in the preseason, where are your biggest worries about the depth?
Biggest worries about the depth. I mean, we kind of hit on a couple of these already. I mean, right off rip, I mean, offensive line, because the starters are the starters.
Cesar Ruiz left to practice one day, and I was like,
we got
well,
Grim
are we going to have to shut down the website? This season is over.
Oh, yeah. But the day you got,
And
it was quiet.
That would be true of Ruiz. That would be true of McCoy.
Was,
I understand your concerns about Fuaga, but when he left practice, I'm like,
oh, no doubt.
What happens if they don't have Fuaga? Like, at least he offers hope.
I'm not talking about I just
yeah.
I think there's a possibility he looks like a rookie. I think it's just on the bingo card, man. Wide receiver is right there, running back's right there, tight end's right there. Weirdly, like the defensive line, I feel like a little bit better about now.
It would take a ton of wind out of the sails if Chase Young went missing.
But like depth in general, like it just there's more there, and there wasn't at one point. Linebacker's a spot I wouldn't worry about. Cornerback's really not a spot I worry about. I mean, they're 2 layers down, and I'm not even Adebo's back. Well, Kool-Aid's out now, but they were 2 layers down, and it didn't feel like it was shutting down camp.
Feels like they have Isaac Yadam level backups at that position. Yeah. Oh, man, if Isaac Yadam played right tackle.
Rajon Wright on the practice squad?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Him and Rico Payton, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're good fits. Next one, sorry if I messed this up. Lavatra Thomas, could be Lavatra. What exactly about Penning's performance yesterday has you even more discouraged? Coach Allen wasn't as down on him yesterday.
I mean, I hate to give I don't know how else to say it. Like, I just watched the game again.
Yeah.
Like, and then you see it. Like, the running game stuff, there's some significant highs, but then there's kind of like a series where he's not necessarily giving stuff up, but, like, the way that he's winning is, like, narrow, and it's just inconsistent, and you see the mechanics aren't great, and it's just, like, there's just something off there. Like, it's just – I thought it was okay, but, like – okay on a Penning level.
It's not a comfortable watch. Like, even last night in real time, like, we were talking about the one that he got away with where the guy he was blocking was campaigning for the illegal.
Oh, it was wild, yeah.
Illegal, like, he should have been flagged on that play. And I think it's more we're just not seeing the growth. It's not that he was worse in this game than other games, but it's like, why haven't we seen him get better? The thing that's bothered me the most about him this summer is I just see him struggle too many times. He gets thrown back in power. I thought setting against power should be a strength of his. He gets off balance when he goes out and attacks. He loses to speed. Like, I wish there was just one thing he was consistently getting beat at instead of a series of things. And Nick's made the point. If people start game planning for him, they're going to get some wins against him.
The next one is from let's see, I just lost the name right here, from Hendo KV50. Do you guys see the Saints keeping 6 cornerbacks and only 4 safeties on the final 53?
We didn't predict that. None of us predicted that.
Who we had? We had
Shamar Jean-Charles as a 5th corner.
Yeah.
And I think he's really good. All 3 of us picked him to make the team. But even that, I was like, that's a question mark. And then at safety, I mean, if you count JT Gray, I think we all had 5. Did I only have 4 safeties? Did Will Harris make a 6th for you guys? We had Jordan Howden, Jonathan Abram, JT Gray. You guys had Will Harris, and I didn't.
And Tyron. Yeah, so
5. 4 or 5. So
yeah.
But no, 6 corners would be a little surprising. But it also depends on the health status of guys in week 1.
I guess it would depend on, like, if they felt like they couldn't afford to lose, like, Rico Payton, which I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he's a really good player. Other years he might have. I mean, he's making this team in 15, 16, but not. There's just too much depth there, I think.
Arjun asks, Donovan Peoples-Jones just got cut by the Lions. You think the Saints might sign someone like that due to, the drops yesterday?
I don't know. Like, I saw the 49ers cut their running back today, too. Like, I don't know. I think they'll have their eyes open to a lot of different things. But I don't know. I mean, they're going to see what the options are or whatever, and then kind of go from there.
Next up from Dom Tomasino, where is the young talent on this team?
It's the thing that's bothered me the most about this team, and I've said this in countless shows. It's like, if you want them to be the tear it down and rebuild team, if you want them to be the win now team, either way, their misses in the draft in the past few years prevents you from doing either one.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, there's obviously some, though. I mean,
There's some,
like you got Olave, Shaheed. I think they're both
Corner.
young, talented player. Pete Werner's one of them. Brian Brzez's one of them. Hopefully Kool-Aid and Alante are part of that. I'd throw Rattler and Hainer in there. Maybe not necessarily. We don't know that they're going to be contributors ever, but hopefully one of them will be. There's a handful of people out there, but obviously I think you would want more. And if honestly, like Chase Young could be one of them.
Yeah,
like he's
fair.
young,
He's 25.
and if they keep him, he could be part of that too. So there's just not enough, and the drafts haven't been good enough. There's no way to paint over that. Like this situation could be significantly better if they were just 25% better at drafting first rounders, and if Trevor Penning was a hit and Peyton Turner was a hit, like just add those two, you feel significantly better about the team in that situation, but you can't because they've missed on those. If
Foskey
draft was a hit,
last year's draft class has just added to the disturbingness. I mean, Foskey, Kendre Miller, Nick Saldivari, A.T. Perry, we were pretty excited about that group, and I think each one of them has taken a step back in different regards this offseason.
If you add a Saldivari to it, it feels different. You add a Kendre to it, it feels like there's just been too many draft misses recently.
Sarah Toby asked, would you trade away Peyton Turner?
Yeah, of course. I like Peyton Turner, and I would love to see him play. But if somebody would give me something for him, he's in the final year of his contract. He's fourth on the depth chart, and he's an injury risk. I'd love to see a team give me some value for that. I think he's going to make the team, and I really hope he finally gets a chance to play, though.
I like him as like that, bottom of the rotation defensive end, but he hasn't done anything that he's like. It's like, oh yeah, Peyton Turner. I feel like more optimistic now. Like he's healthy, but I haven't really seen anything in any of these games that kind of really changes my overall view.
Michael B asks, are you surprised Michael Thomas is not with the team right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised by that for
of course.
sure. Yeah.
I think he's good enough to play. I mean, I don't know what his health status is, and I don't know if he's being picky about the teams he's choosing because we're not seeing workouts, and we're not seeing like what we saw with. Why am I forgetting this? The safe Justin Simmons or whatever. So I don't know if that's him being picky or waiting till he can pass a physical or what. But I can't believe teams wouldn't want that somewhere on their roster.
I mean, I think one of the teams that probably if you're Mike, one of the teams you would. It just seems like a great fit for him. I think he needs to go to a team and would want to go to a team that's kind of ready to win, that kind of has, a good quarterback. I think Juju getting signed today kind of takes a location off the board.
It's a good call.
Chargers maybe. Like Chargers is a spot that would kind of make a lot of sense. They could use somebody maybe on a shorter-term deal. They got the quarterback. I don't know. We'll see.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said about Justin Herbert.
I mean, he's a top 10 QB. He's a top 10 QB. I think he needs to win some games. Yeah. I do. I mean, I think the talent's there. I think he's kind of, a great. I think he's kind of Stafford before the Rams. Like, there's a lot of talent, but like it just hasn't hit yet. It hasn't been meaningful. There's some numbers, but at some point, like you need to see a guy win some games. And wins aren't a great quarterback stat, but at the same time, like let's see it build around him. But look, I mean. You do look at them, and they're like, I think they've been like 11th in like DVOA, and their defense is like 30th. So I mean, it's not all him, but like he's had a couple opportunities. I'd just like to see some wins on that resume.
Is Aaron Rodgers still a top 10 quarterback?
Yeah.
You think so? Who's your top 10 right now?
Oh, I mean, I don't know.
Off the rip, I mean, you got. I'm gonna just throw names out there, and you put them.
By the way, before you throw the names out there, The Athletic did this today. You know how Mike Sando has always talked to all those executives. It's like kind of a coveted list that people wait to come out. Derek Carr tied for 20th on it. He does not do rookies.
Okay.
Baker Mayfield was 19th, which I kind of disagree with, but I don't mind them being in the same tier. Carr tied for 20th, Geno Smith. Deshaun Watson was 18th. I think you could make an argument for moving him ahead of those guys. But I think the top 17 was pretty agreeable. I know you're not sold on Tua being in that top 17 for sure, I think, if I remember right from past discussions. But there's a top 17, not including rookies, that are definitely the top 17. You can mix the order around.
We might get into that later on the stream.
I mean, like, I don't know, like Mahomes. Give me Mahomes. Give me Burrow. Give me Josh Allen. Give me Lamar.
You like Stroud, yeah.
Throw Stafford in there somewhere. Throw A-Rod in there somewhere.
You're down to 3 spots. Jordan Love.
I hate to be the cynic,
Brock
but I need to see a little bit more from him.
Sure.
I think after I don't know
Herbert.
maybe
Jalen Hurts.
No, I'm
No?
moving him down. I need to see it again. I mean, that was a
who am I
mess last
forgetting?
year.
Who am I forgetting? Cousins hurt.
Cousins.
Tua, you're not a big Tua guy.
He's not
I'm
on
forgetting
Tua.
someone. We're
Throw
forgetting at
Herbert,
least
throw
one.
Herbert in there.
Obviously.
Give me Herbert at like 8, and then I think from there it's probably kind of wide open. Purdy's
They
probably
all-
in there somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know. I
I
mean,
bet we're
think it's
fitting
kind
one
of
guy
a
Goff. You like Goff?
Goff's in there somewhere.
He's close.
I like Goff better before the big ass contract.
That's
he
true
was
of a
cheap.
lot of names.
Yeah.
you just
Yeah, when
listed.
he was cheap. Tatiana G asked, Boston Scott got cut today. Would he be an upgrade on our third running back rotation?
I don't know. I mean, I liked him when he was here,
Yeah.
but I mean, I don't know.
I think there's a tier that he's in that they're also in, but no. And don't forget, we keep saying third running back. Tailback Taysom Hill is part of that mix, which is another reason why I don't just overcrowd the backfield with another guy. Of course there's room for an upgrade, though.
Bucky Barbie says, did Josiah Ezram look as good as Trevor in the last game?
I throw Dak. Dak's probably like 10th. I put
Dak.
Dak.
That's
I
the
throw
name.
Dak in there.
Dak.
That's
Yeah,
a name
we
we
just
forgot.
talked about Dak earlier today.
I like that.
We
I
forgot
like that.
about that.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm missing one. I think I got 9 in my top 10. I don't know. I don't know who the other one would be.
It could rotate week to week, that last couple spots. But
Gardner Minshew.
Like Lawrence is on the fringe, but I don't like
Oh,
him as
Trevor
a top
Lawrence
10.
is
I don't
a-
like him as a top 10 though.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who you could in that like bubble from like 8 through 15 that are like
Trevor could get there. I need to see something. I don't know.
Interchangeable,
Jordan Love. I'd probably throw Jordan Love there, but like I need to see something. I need to see something.
you like
else.
Jordan Love better than Jalen Hurts?
I feel like I've seen. I don't know. Like last year was just weird. It was weird. But that situation was a mess. So we'll see.
just
We'll
making
see.
sure we're not forgetting a name. You're a little down on Tua, right?
I mean, he's,
not in the top 10 conversation.
I think Tua's like probably like QB 14 or something like that.
Yeah. I'm not sure that we forgot a name. What was the next question you were just starting to ask?
Bucky Barbie says, did Josiah Ezram look as good as Trevor in the last game?
I saw it. No, what did he did something really bad. Was it a bad penalty?
He's
He
in at
was the
end of
one
game,
who had
too.
the holding penalty that
And it
nullified
came
the
back.
touchdown,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
He was in at the end of the game too. Let's do like 2 more and get out of here.
Okay. Hendo KV50 says, who you guys think gets awarded the punter job, Lou Hedley or Hayball?
I think Hayball, but I think they're looking outside the building too.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
I picked Hayball. You picked Headley. I mean, it's
Yeah.
close between those two, but there's room to upgrade for sure.
And finally, I mean, we've heard this one before. Captain Deluxe says, well, is this Dennis Allen's last season?
You can't
can't
no,
say
I mean,
that.
look,
You
if they
can't
win
even-
enough games or it looks okay, like he'll stick around. If he doesn't and it looks bad, he won't. I mean, I really think it's that simple. Like the fate's in his hand. Like nobody's deciding that right now though. If they were deciding that today, they would have decided it in January and there would already been a change. So look, I mean, give it to see what happens. You know what I mean? They got a new offensive staff. He's got the coaching staff. Let's see where it goes from here.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be a reason to blame him for underachieving. If it's because the offensive line stinks and Chris Olave and Eric McCoy get hurt, I don't think he's going to take the fall for it. They're not going to do it symbolically. But if for some reason they think he doesn't do the job, then yeah, he's given them enough years now that if they ever feel like he's not doing the job, then yeah, he's in line. Kyler Murray was the other name.
I
Is
like
he in your
Kyler.
top
too.
10?
I like
Kyler.
Kyler.
Forgot about Kyler.
He could get there. I like Kyler. A
Kyler's
lot.
top
I
10
think I
to
like
me.
Kyler more than anybody. Like honestly, I really do. It's
I
just,
remember
it's
when we
just
were
been
AZ and he was wearing, oh, snap. It's Kyler.
He's. I like his game a lot. That's gonna do it for us here at Tracy's. Make sure you come and check it out. Magazine and Pleasant Street on the corner there. Look for the blue building. Great atmosphere here. You see it inside here. Great place to watch a game. Food's amazing.
It smells great in here
yeah,
now
it
too.
smells good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, great.
Something's cooking right now.
No doubt about it. Great people, great local institution, new location. Come up here, support them as you know they go through Generation 2 on Tracy. So come check them out. And 2 weeks away, kickoff. So we'll keep covering it. Stick with us at NewOrleans.Football. And the food is better than my exit here. I fumbled this, and hey, sometimes it happens.
It's all good, man. Catch y'all next time.